He obeyed God, then listened to the wrong voice. The man of God, 1 Kings 13. Let me ask you something strange. What if the most dangerous mistake you could ever make isn't disobeying God at the beginning, but listening to the wrong voice halfway through? Because this story is about a man who got it right until he didn't. A prophet, unnamed, unknown, sent by God. No fame, no title, just a mission. He walks into a city ruled by King Jeroboam, a king deep in rebellion. And right there, in front of everyone, he delivers a message from God. Bold, fearless, unshaken. And then something happens. The altar cracks. Ashes spill everywhere. A supernatural sign. God just confirmed his word. The king panics. He stretches out his hand to arrest the prophet. And suddenly, his hand freezes. Paralyzed. In that moment, power shifts. The king begs the very man he tried to arrest. Pray for me. And the prophet does. The hand is restored. Miracle. Authority. Victory. And then comes the instruction from God. Do not eat. Do not drink. Do not return the same way you came. Simple. Clear. Non-negotiable. So the prophet obeys. He walks away. Mission complete. Or so it seems. Enter another prophet. Older. Experienced. Convincing. He hears what happened and goes after the young man. Finds him resting. And says something subtle, but deadly. I too am a prophet, just like you. An angel told me to bring you back. To eat. To rest. It sounds spiritual. It sounds believable. But here's the truth. It was a lie. And the young prophet believed him. He goes back. He sits down. He eats. And in that moment, everything changes. Because the voice that sounded like God wasn't God. And suddenly, judgment is pronounced. Not by the young prophet, but through the very man who deceived him. On his way home, a lion appears. No struggle. No chase. Just one moment. And it's over. The man who obeyed God publicly fell privately. Here's the part no one talks about. He didn't fail when he faced the king. He failed when he relaxed. He didn't fall under pressure. He fell under persuasion. Not every voice that sounds spiritual is from God. Not every prophet carries truth. And sometimes, the greatest danger in your life isn't the obvious enemy. It's the familiar voice that sounds right, but leads you wrong. So let me ask you, and pay close attention. Who are you listening to? After God has already spoken?
The assignment was easy. Until success changed him. Uzziah, 2 Chronicles 26. Uzziah started as a young king with a simple assignment: lead Israel faithfully. But success, pride, and the subtle whispers of ambition would change him forever. This story isn't just about a king, it's a warning about how power can quietly trap the best of us. Uzziah as a teenager, studying with advisors, overseeing construction projects, calm and focused. Uzziah ascends the throne at just 16 years old. Early years show wisdom, humility, and dedication. He strengthens Jerusalem, expands the army, builds towers, and cultivates vineyards. The people prosper under his leadership. A perfect start, simple, obedient, faithful. Ever started something with pure intentions, only to realize success has its own complications? Uzziah interacting with workers, giving commands, looking thoughtful yet compassionate. Success comes quickly. Uzziah's victories multiply. Nations fear him. The people praise him. And slowly, subtle pride begins to creep in. Leadership feels natural, even intoxicating. The assignments that were once simple now inflate into power and entitlement. Have you ever noticed how success can sneak up on you? One victory feels small, until it starts changing your character. Uzziah entering the temple with incense, royal robes glowing, priests staring in shock. And then comes the turning point. Uzziah, intoxicated by his achievements, steps into the priestly chamber to burn incense, a role reserved only for priests. His pride has blinded him to God's clear instructions. One bold act, one decision, and everything begins to unravel. The priests confront him. "Stop. This is not your place." But Uzziah's anger flares. He refuses correction. The story shifts from triumph to tragedy in a single moment. God's judgment is swift. Leprosy overtakes him. A king who once led a nation with wisdom now lives in isolation. Success turned to pride, pride turned to punishment. The lesson is stark. God's call and human ambition are not always aligned. Ever achieved something you thought was a blessing, only to discover it came with hidden consequences? The story of Uzziah teaches us about humility, boundaries, and the danger of letting success redefine our identity. Achievements are gifts, but they can become traps when we forget who we serve and why we lead. Think about your own life. Are your victories making you better, or slowly turning you away from what matters most? So here's the takeaway. Success isn't just measured by victories, wealth, or power. True success is aligned with God's purpose, humility, and obedience. Step carefully, lead wisely, and never let achievement blind you to what truly matters. Success can change you, but humility keeps you alive. Comment below, how do you keep humility in your success? And subscribe for more cinematic Bible stories filled with suspense, lessons, and dramatic twists that will leave you in awe.
He was sent to curse, but could only bless Balaam. Imagine being hired for one job, and no matter how hard you try, you physically cannot do it. That's the story of a man who tried to curse God's people and failed every single time. Balaam was known for one thing. When he spoke, things happened. So a king hires him. Curse Israel. Simple. Say the words. Get paid. On his way, something strange happens. His donkey stops. Refuses to move. Balaam gets angry. Beats it. But what he doesn't see is an angel standing in the path, blocking him. And then, the donkey speaks. Yes, speaks. Why are you beating me? In that moment, Balaam's eyes open, and he realizes he was heading in the wrong direction. He finally arrives, stands on a mountain, opens his mouth to curse, and instead, blessings come out. Again, and again, and again. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot override God. But here's the part most people miss. He couldn't curse them directly. So he found another way. He advised their enemies how to make Israel fall from within. Not by attack, but by compromise. Here's the truth. If God has blessed you, no one can curse what he has covered. But what the enemy cannot destroy from the outside, he will try to corrupt from the inside. And sometimes, the greatest threat to your life isn't opposition, enemy confrontation. It's temptation. So ask yourself, are you protected, but slowly compromising?
The left-handed assassin, Ehud, Judges 3. Imagine living under oppression, every day wondering if freedom will ever come. And then one man, seemingly ordinary, holds the fate of a nation in his left hand. Yes, you heard that right, his left hand. But what he did with it? It changed history forever. Israel had been under King Eglon of Moab for 18 years, oppression, taxes, fear. And yet, God chose someone unexpected. Ehud, a left-handed man. Overlooked. Underestimated. Perfect for the task nobody saw coming. Ever felt overlooked, dismissed, underestimated? Stick with me, because this story proves that being different can be your greatest strength. Ehud delivering tribute to King Eglon, concealed sword and cloak. Ehud doesn't just walk into the palace. He has a plan. A secret weapon hidden where no one would expect it. His left-handedness, normally seen as a flaw, becomes his advantage. The king, confident, unaware, even laughing, never suspects that freedom is walking in disguised as tribute. Quick question, how often do you think your quirks are weaknesses, when really, they're God's tools. Now comes the moment of truth. Ehud steps in, king unsuspecting, chamber door closes behind them. Silence. The air thick. Every heartbeat counts. And then he strikes. Not just bravery, strategy. The left hand, the hidden sword, the element of surprise. History remembers the moment, but only God knows how orchestrated it truly was. King collapses, tension peaks, fade to Israelite citizens outside. Ehud slipping past guards. Ehud doesn't linger. He escapes, closing doors to the oppressive past. Israel rises. The Moabites fall. One underestimated man, left-handed, saves the nation. God's plan? Perfectly executed through what the world saw as a flaw. Think about it. What if your very quirk, the thing people say is a weakness, is exactly what God wants to use? Here's the twist most people miss. Ehud's story isn't just history. It's a lesson. God doesn't always choose the obvious, the strong, or the popular. Sometimes, He chooses the overlooked, the different, the underestimated, even the disrespected and scorned. And He asks us to trust that even what looks like a flaw is actually His plan in motion that must come to pass in the fullness of time. Have you ever felt overlooked? Dismissed? Unqualified? Pitted or even mistreated because you are different? Maybe God is just waiting for the perfect moment to use you in ways the world could never imagine. So, what's your left hand? What's the hidden part of you that everyone ignores, that God could use to change history? Remember Ehud. Remember, your difference isn't your limitation, it's your leverage. It's actually your uniqueness. Share this story. Comment below. What's your left hand moment? Do you still feel disadvantaged? And don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic Bible stories with lessons you can live today.
When God sent bears after mockers. Elisha, 2 Kings 2 verses 23 to 25. Some lessons in life come quietly. Others come with teeth. Imagine walking down the road, mocking a man of God, and the very earth seems to rise against you in dreadful ways instantly. That's exactly what happened to a group of youths who dared to mock the prophet Elisha. Young prophet Elisha, calm, resolute, walking alone, staff in hand. Elisha had just succeeded Elijah, inheriting not just his mantle, but his authority. The Israelites were adjusting, and for some, respect was optional and negotiated. A group of boys, teenagers at most, saw this as a joke. They mocked the man of God. "Go up, bald head," they jeered. Now pause for a second. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when someone mocks authority? Laugh? Ignore it? What if ignoring it or joining in could cost you everything? Elisha turns calmly, expression unshaken. Here's the twist. Elisha doesn't scream. He doesn't retaliate physically. He doesn't even raise his voice. He simply calls down a warning. Did I not tell you not to mock? But these weren't ordinary boys. They didn't listen, like many today. And that's when the story takes a shocking turn. Let me ask you, have you ever ignored a warning, thinking it couldn't touch you? That's exactly what these mockers did. Two massive bears emerge from the woods, cinematic low angle, mist swirling, teeth glinting. The Bible doesn't sugarcoat it. God's authority manifested in a way none of them expected, showing God's backing for His prophet. The bears charged, and 42 of them were mauled. Shock. Fear. Chaos. It wasn't punishment for personal spite, it was the weight of God's authority asserting itself through His prophet. Pause for a moment. That's 42 lives impacted. Just by disrespecting authority. How seriously do you take the boundaries God sets? This story is uncomfortable. It's dark. And that's why it sticks. It forces us to ask, when does irreverence become dangerous? When does mocking or dismissing God's authority cross the line? In life, spiritual authority isn't always about loud miracles. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's terrifying. And sometimes, it's a warning we shouldn't ignore. Here's the takeaway: God's protection isn't just for the prophet, it's for the people who respect His boundaries. And sometimes, the consequences are meant to teach more than punish. This story may seem harsh, but it's also a reminder: spiritual authority carries weight, whether you like it or not. Have you ever dismissed something sacred, only to realize later how serious it was? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This story is a warning, but also a wake-up call, that God's power and authority are unquestionable and indomitable. He shows forth His authority placed upon His chosen prophets, and it cannot be mocked or trampled upon. So, the next time someone mocks what you respect, or disregards God's authority, remember this story. Sometimes silence is powerful. Sometimes it's deadly. And sometimes God reminds us that respect isn't optional. Respect the authority. Trust the warning. Share this story. Comment below. Have you ever ignored a warning and regretted it? And don't forget to subscribe for more cinematic Bible stories that hit hard and teach harder.